Hey guys, Brian Delivers You the Goods here. Sorry for the lengthy delay for this next review. I just had to take a nap for a little bit and I did get done eating dinner recently. So I'm going to discuss the review I'm doing, which is an album review for Escape the Fate. This new album, Out of the Shadows, that I did get a chance to check out. Which I was really surprised that they are dropping another album, but yeah, we're going to be talking about it. Their new album. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for all 12 songs by Escape the Fate and their new album Out of the Shadows, and let you know my thoughts on this album overall, which was like a 38.5-minute album, so it wasn't very long. So let's dive into this album review. Now basically it starts with Forgive Me, and that's a solid track. I think there were some weak moments in the track with how Craig Mabbitt's singing was sounding at times, but I think it was trying to be pretty heavy and progressive with this track, with the heavy drum work and guitar work, and there was some electronic beats in it, meaning the synth beats, that did alright in its own way, so I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. The first opening song is alright. It's one of the strongest tracks in my opinion. Choke is a pretty good one. And keep in mind, Forgive Me was a long song. It was like over 5 minutes. So it was a little bit lengthy. But Choke was a pretty solid track. Don't hate it so much. There are some times where I feel that it's a little overproduced in some areas. But I think mixing and production and drum work and guitar work, it stands out in a good way. And Craig Mabbitt's vocals stand out too. So 4.5 out of 5. Then comes one of the songs I kind of almost dislike, which is Low. I think it's an okay track. I have my issues with this song from many reasons, because some of the production and mixing is a little off key, and just the trap beats or whatever they're going for, the synth beats, are not sounding as great with the track. And this track's kind of all over the place, to be honest. Craig Mabbitt's singing is alright at times, but I just think this song is pretty all over the place. Like it's trying to be something when in fact it's not really impressing me too much. So it's an okay track, but it's not something I'd come back to a lot. So 3 out of 5. Rather Be Dead is a pretty solid one. Don't hate this track. For 2 minutes and 36 seconds, I was slightly entertained with this track from time to time. So it wasn't a very long track, but it did get the job done for what it was going for. So 4.5 out of 5. Then comes FUN and Funeral, and there are moments in the track where there's some cringe singing from Craig Mabbitt at times with how his vocal range is sounding. He plays with his vocals a bit too much in this track, and there are some weird vocal pitches that don't sound great execution-wise. But I think the overall song is decent. It's not great in any way, but it's decent. So 4 out of 5. Lips Like Knives is a pretty solid track. It's good in its own way. I do like the way Craig Mabbitt is singing in the track. The melody, production, and mixing is pretty alright. And the overall track, instrumentally, guitar-wise, and drum-wise, is pretty much impressing me. So 4.5 out of 5. Hypnotized was not a very long song. It was only 2 minutes and 7 seconds. But it was pretty entertaining for the runtime it was going for, which does lead into the next song. And keep in mind, Low was a single, by the way. It was the second single for this album. But yeah, Hypnotized is a solid track. Don't hate this track. I think there are some slight execution flaws, but I think overall it was majority-wise entertaining. 4.5 out of 5. Then comes Hate Myself, that came out at the beginning of this year, like late January is when I remember it coming out, and I was quite entertained with this track. It was pretty entertaining for what it was going for. And Craig Mabbitt's vocals in it are pretty good. There are some synth beats in the second verse of the track that I just don't know if I connect with, but I think that's the only cringy part of the song. Everything else performed pretty alright, so 4.5 out of 5. It's still getting the same rating I gave it when I reviewed it. Traumatized is a solid track. It's good in its own way. Don't really hate this track. I think Craig Mabbitt's vocals in it are sounding pretty good, and drum work and guitar work's pretty good too. So I'm really liking the melody too. 4.5 out of 5. I almost said 5 out of 5. These are not amazing songs, but they are pretty solid, majority wise. Irreversible is a solid one too. There are some moments where I have my gripes with how the track is sounding, but I think overall it was trying to be a good track, so 4.5 out of 5. Craig Mabbitt's vocals is pretty strong in this track, and just the execution of the drum work and guitar work and production wise is pretty strong, so 4.5 out of 5. Kings of Nothing is a decent one. It's the last decent track for this album, getting close to the last song, which was a single too, keep in mind. I think Kings of Nothing's getting a 4 out of 5. There are some lyrics with how Craig Mabbitt is singing it at times that I don't know if it performs well, but I think with what it was going for, it is a decent track. Not great, but I just think when the chorus comes in, I have my issues with the chorus a bit. And I don't hate the song, I just think it's slightly underperformed in its own way, so 4 out of 5, and there's some execution flaws too. Cheers to Goodbye featuring Spencer Charnas is the final track for this album. Pretty good closing track. I wouldn't say it's my favorite closing track, but I think it's solid. It's one of those good closing tracks to end this album, and I think when I first heard it, I was really entertained with it, because Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills was in this track, and that was what really hooked me to the song. Got my attention to listen to this song, because I was like, oh, Spencer Charnas is going to be in this track. I'm definitely interested. So, Cheers to Goodbye is a solid track, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but there are some slight execution flaws when listening to this song that I had my gripes with. So 4.5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I think Escape the Fate Out of the Shadows is a decent album. It's a step up from the last album, Chemical Warfare, which I thought was an okay album. This ain't the best album this year, but it's a decent album. It's as decent as the new Asking Alexandria album, Where Do We Go From Here? Because I was a little disappointed with Asking Alexandria with their new album. I didn't hate it. I just think it was decent. There were some tracks I had issues with. But this one, I think, was pretty decent. So, first score for me, I'm giving Escape the Fate Out of the Shadows for their new album a 7 out of 10. Sorry about that bang on my laptop. It just, my pen, I was probably messing with it a bit too much. Basically, 7 out of 10 for Escape the Fate Out of the Shadows. Pretty slight entertaining track for what it's going for. Or album, I meant to say. I said track, so please forgive me on saying that. I just think there are some execution flaws when listening to certain tracks in the album, but the overall other tracks perform solidly in this album, so pretty much 7 out of 10 for Escape the Fate Out of the Shadows for their new album. Thank you guys for watching this review.